Hello everyone, welcome back. This episode of Bitcoin Trade, just another chart analysis. As you probably already know, that Bitstamp is already back online, and you can see him right over there. There it is. So Bitstamp's back, and so I noticed something very unusual. I noticed that Bitfin has been highest for the last several weeks, and I'm not sure why that is. I know Bitsy and this Chinese exchange have been almost par most of the time. Bitstamp has been fluctuating up and down, sometimes lower than Bitfin but never higher. So I'm not sure if that's indicative to a lot of Bitfin being more in volume. I'm sure out of all these exchanges, Bitfin probably had the most benefit of the halt in trading at Bitstamp. And so, what does that mean? Well, I guess it doesn't mean anything. I guess it just changes the dynamics of the de facto exchange that people are using. And during that time when Bitstamp stopped trading, I guess a lot of people have converted to Bitfin as now the de facto pricing. Although I've had some other miners use some different indices, but overall, what I guess, using now is a Bitfin price. I kind of go back and forth. It depends. They're very similar as you see right now in price. There's only like a 30-cent difference, but I'm coming at you pretty late or very early in the morning. What I have noticed was that during the trading session in the U.S., I see something kind of interesting happen. I see a surge before the beginning of the trading session in the U.S., and then towards the end of the session of the U.S., typical trading, daytime hours, I see it go down in price a little bit. And so I'm starting to think that what's happening is people are trading into Bitcoin, going into Bitcoin to trade in the actual physical real world, markets, and then they do their trading and everything, and then after they're done, whatever they have, they basically convert back to fiat. Now, this is a typical trade strategy of someone who's basically a trader, who trades. You go in and you buy the Bitcoins on the exchange, try to put them out in the market, and then whatever you have or whatever you bought, because you probably bought Bitcoins as well, at the end of the day, you convert them to the virtual fiat currency, and then go to bed, and then wake up and do it all over again. And I'm noticing that pattern. So I'm seeing more and more. Probably, I wouldn't say they're institutional investors, but I believe they are experienced investors who have gone into the Bitcoin trading. And so I'm noticing that trend. Also, recently I've seen a slight change in this trend, and mainly because due of, I guess, the overselling that's going on. Excuse me. And you see here, huge amount of volume. Like if you compared it to this, this was like a lot, and then this has been the volume since then, and then this is a huge amount of trading here that's been going on. And so what's causing it is it the are basically all the Ponzi schemes starting to offload their Bitcoins? Is it the stolen Bitcoins? Is it the Mt. Gox stolen Bitcoins? I mean, there's so many hacked Bitcoins now. I'm starting to lose track, and there's so many Ponzi schemes out there. Starting to lose track of those too, but obviously there's heavy selling pressure going on here. Obviously, this was about the time of the auction of the Silk Road auctions here, or the I guess the personal bitcoins of Ross Ulbricht that was seized, and then you see down, and then you see more down, and then you see more down. So kind of makes you wonder where all these bitcoins are coming from. Obviously, there seems to be more bitcoins being flooded into the market than there are um, buyers. So, anyways, I did purchase some Bitcoin below the 200 mark, and I've held on to a good portion of that. And so, and I actually, not because I had any strategy um, or any notion that it might go up. Uh, I just was a little preoccupied to trade, so I didn't trade that day. And when I came back, um, or the next day, I saw this huge green bar, and I was, of course, very pleased. And during that day after, the rest of the day, I saw it go up in the morning, then go back down um, in starting in the late afternoon, and that's kind of what I've been very aware of, that in the mornings I see the price rise up because I think I think people are waking up and going, all right, let's time it's time to trade bitcoins, and they buy into their Bitcoin position, selling out to the open market, and then at the end of the day they sell off their positions. So interesting strategy. I I don't know what to say other than it's kind of foolish to buy into it then sell out of it. And I guess what people are doing is they're buying into it, selling it out in the physical world for people who are using it, and then when they're done trading, they sell off their positions to secure their volatility. And I guess we're going to be seeing a lot of that. I guess it's being utilized by people who are very experienced traders. Um, but at some point, you know, I when I first got into it, I kind of did something like that because there was a lot of turmoil. Mt. Gox was, just imploded. A lot of things were happening. Some guidance came out, tax guidance. Um, a lot of things came out, and so a lot of uncertainty. But the price is so low now, you kind of have to wonder. There's two ways to make a gain here, and the gain is either in that fiat currency or in a Bitcoin. And the price is so low. I've been slowly but surely gaining more and more into Bitcoin, to do several things. You can arbitrage faster. You can actually take on less volatility when you get more Bitcoins, or when you sell more Bitcoins, either or. You can actually open yourself up to more options. So there's a lot of things I'm learning by actually holding on to a good portion, or a comfortable portion of Bitcoins that I'm able to do that I couldn't do if I just bought Bitcoins and I just sold them. And then at the end of the day, uh, sell out of my position. Um, there's obviously risk, but long term, um, you know, there's a good time to acquire and gain in Bitcoin, and then there's a bad time to acquire and gain Bitcoin. It's depending on what you're trying to do. In my opinion, right now, it's a great time to acquire your gains in Bitcoin because they just go into your long-term trading bucket, and excuse me. And as time goes on, I hope I'm right. Of course, only time will tell. Uh, the gains that you make in Bitcoin will pay off at the end, or somehow you'll be able to use that Bitcoin later on. You don't have to really cash out. You can actually take that Bitcoin that you gained, and hopefully the value will rise. And then later on, uh, if you have, let's say, 10 Bitcoins, and through your gains. So all this time, let's say I've been trading all this time, and I've gained myself 10 Bitcoins. And believe it or not, gaining 10 Bitcoins is not that hard right now. It's actually very, very easy. I think $60. Um, I think about $60 would get you a quarter of a Bitcoin. Yeah, about $60 based on that price, something like that. And so um, that's actually not too bad. If you were to gain $60 a day in 1 week, you would have, you know, one Bitcoin. The lower the price, the even easier it's to gain. And if you do that for 10 weeks, or if you accelerate your trading fast enough, you can easily gain 10 Bitcoins very quickly. And so, um, and that's a gain. That's no risk to you. You've gained it by trading, arbitrage, or whatever you do. And you know, if you give yourself enough time, and 2 to 3 years is not a very long time if you think about it, but for some people it is. But 2 to 3 years, you hold on to it, and remember, it's only like, if you do it over a certain amount of time, you don't even notice it. $60 to get a quarter of a Bitcoin. Do that 4 times, you got a whole Bitcoin. You do that enough times, let's just say 10 Bitcoins you have. Those are gained Bitcoins. Um, you know, Imagine when it's 500, when it's 1,000, when it's 10,000. Um, I guess as far as your imagination go, I mean, I've always said infinity, but that's me. I'm just excuse me. I'm just heavily biased on that. Um, but all I know is that the more I have, the more I can use. The more I can use, the more I'll have, and it just kind of just snowballs into that, where the more you use, the more you'll get. I'm talking about Bitcoin anyway. The more Bitcoins you have, the more Bitcoins you can start using, the more Bitcoins you'll be able to get. And it just kind of snowballs, and it just becomes exponential in that way. Same way if you were trying to gain in fiat currency, um, the velocity, and I mentioned this, the velocity just increases, and at certain times, it makes sense to do that with uh, your fiat currency, because I do have to pay my bills and everything. But at some point, it starts working the other way, and it's kind of ironic how it works. But when the price goes down like this, that's when you want to switch the gear to gaining in Bitcoin. And if it keeps going down, I mean, the amount of gaining in Bitcoin that you do is tremendous. Um, and then as soon as the price goes back up, you can do several things. I mean, at that point, they're all gains. I mean, there's no risk to you. Um, and I mean, if you do it right, anyway. If I know there's a lot of people who all they're doing is just buying it, and at the end of the day, they're selling off, and they're not making any Bitcoin gains, and they're just selling off, selling off, selling off. They're buying just to sell off, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You can do that, but for me, at the end of the day, it's let the Bitcoins work for you, instead of you trying to work for the Bitcoins. Um, you know, that's just excuse me. Just got a little cold here. That's just my opinion, but that's however you want to trade. It's totally up to you. My trades, my strategy is different than your strategy. Um, my strategy always changes too, so that's kind of what it is now. And who knows, maybe tomorrow it'll change. But anyways, let's go to the chart analysis here. And this is a 12 hour on Bitfin. I've been working with Bitfin because now they're definitely the leading US dollar exchange here. And you're getting a better picture, and because of this large movement, all this stuff looks really small now. Um, Obviously there's something happened. Well, this around this time, obviously the Bitstamp has been hacked. It's gone down. Even though when they were back on, it fell even further, and it's just come back up, and I think that's due to the overselling. And if you look on the MACD here, you could see that it really started overselling here, and then it started to wane off, and it waned off right about here at this midpoint right here in this center. Right after it reached its low, it started to wane off, and you can see the momentum in the oversell starting to bounce back. And so we'll see what happens if it does wane off and level out, and start going back up. You could probably see it test this 250 around here. We'll see what happens if it's able to bounce back up to this point and break through. It has to break through higher than this, which is about 300. So it's going to have to break through higher than that to start going back up. If it can't, it's just going to probably do more of the same as you've been seeing here. Is hit up against this 25 period average here, weighted average, and then bounce back down again, and you could probably see a further long-term downtrend as you've been seeing here. Now, I did mention that it did break below here, or actually right here. It did break below the 250, and that is a sign that it is probably going to be trending down, or it could be the last stab before going back up, before finally reaching this low of 166.45, I believe. So it reached 166.45, which I said it could be a possible breakdown to 100. It did get into the hundreds, but not quite down to 100. And so hopefully a lot of people did buy some Bitcoins down here at this low point and really enjoying this little rise here. Anyways, excuse me. So that's my quick chart analysis. I've been really busy trading. A lot of arbitrage, a lot of buying and selling, buying low, selling high, a lot of physical real world trades, both buying and selling. It's been the volatility has been, if you're trading, the volatility has really been great. Although I do have my Bitcoin holdings, but all those holdings I have are all gains. They're not anything that I originally came up with. All the money I have originally started with, I've kind of already gotten back, and so at this point I'm just trading my gains. And if you're smart, you would do the same. You go in, you probably go in a little bit and just trade and try to make your gains. You'll probably be deceived a lot if you trade in the physical world. There's a lot of people who are putting out Ponzi schemes, scams. There are people who will defraud you. You'll get hacked. I mean, all these different things. But the nice thing is, no matter how far you get, or if you're just starting, if you have to restart again because you got hacked or defrauded, or let's say, we have another Mt. Gox where, oh, sorry, where things are, where the exchange collapsed, and for whatever reason. What I noticed about Bitcoin is no matter what, you can always restart if you have or you can get a Bitcoin. So as long as you have some part of a Bitcoin, whether it's fractional or a whole piece or 10 or 20 or 100, you can always start again and do this again and start over. It's never really it never really dies, or it doesn't. How can I say this? You can always start over again. Um, and maybe it's not because of Bitcoin. Maybe it's because of you. I've heard many times that people can take your business, people can take your money, people can take your property, but they can never take your inspiration, your hope, your knowledge. They can never take that away. They can never take your ideas. They can never take, your desire to do things. And as long as you have that desire, no matter how much, people try to take from you or steal from you, you can always start over again. You don't have to commit suicide. Your life isn't over, because it's not, it's the value of all things. Doesn't come from money, doesn't come from a property per se. It comes from within you. So as long as you're alive and you're around and you're surviving, you always have that ability to generate wealth. And that's what I've learned. I've learned that. I mean, if the whole world had to reset, and if the whole world crashed, and you had to push the reset button, would it be over for you? Probably not, because there's something about you that makes you different. There's something about you that you have something more important to do, and it's not just making money. It's not just trading bitcoins, or not just becoming wealthy or anything in that regard. That there's something more to it than that you have something really, really important to do in this life, and that's what drives you. If you had to restart over, for some, I mean, restarting is disastrous. Their whole life is surrounded, or the illusion of their life is just what they see in front of them. The amount of money you have, the amount of bitcoins you have, your status, stuff like that. It's for some, it's disastrous, and they can't imagine or envision a world different than now. But I totally envision a world very different, very, very different in the way we do things. So, anyways, that's my quick chart analysis. Look for, if you see the momentum of the sell-off is waning off, and if it does reverse up and goes up a little bit, it'll most likely hit up against this average right here, where it'll retest that, just retest this, I think, resistant It's not really a line, but just and it's around 250, so it's a mental average as well, or mental resistance. Um, we'll see how far it goes. It may hit up to 250 and then just bounce back down again. Now, the question is it going to be into another triangle? Excuse me. Is it going to go into another triangle, or is it going to try to come hit this, hit around 250, bounce back, maybe probably down around 200, and then take another jab at breaking through this average and push up to 300, where that's really the resistance here. And if it can hit up to 300 and just take a breather and then bounce down and then bounce up a little more higher, as long as it can break through here around this high, because I've mentioned many times, all you have to do is just follow the high and just follow it down, and then when it finally breaks through, that'll be your buying signal. And that should give you the early indication of a possible trend reversal on the upside. So as long as it's making a lower low, it's still on the down. It's still trending down. Until we can get a really good positive signal, don't overcommit yourself. What I've been doing is basically I'm always buying and selling, but as its price is going down, it just becomes more and more attractive to me to keep my gains in Bitcoin, because it's so much easier to gain in Bitcoin. You know, like I said, $60 is basically a quarter of a Bitcoin. $60 at $1,000 a Bitcoin was not even a quarter, it was just a fractional amount. So, you know, as the price gets lower, it makes more sense for me to keep my gains in Bitcoin, because it's just easier to gain in Bitcoin. I don't know how else to say it. Anyways, feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment or a video response. Until next time, stay tuned. Bye.